Interesting question today. The threats of AI, is it still worth getting a tech job? My name is Isaac, previous CTO of a funded startup, and I run the checkout team at Pretty Little Thing. So what is the concern? Where is this video coming from? As everyone knows, OpenAI released ChatGPT on the 30th of November 2022, which is a couple months ago from the recording. If you don't know, get to know, it's the new breakthrough in AI, which is a natural language processor, which means you can talk to it normally and it responds back. Google has a competitor on the way, I'm pretty sure, and I'm pretty sure there's one from Microsoft as well. So AI's come, it's probably here to stay, and from the way people are using it, it seems to be incredibly impactful. What can you do with these tools? Almost anything. You can talk to it normally and it kind of digests that and understands it in machine ways. People have used it to write copy for them, they've used it to design websites, they've used it to build websites. It seems to be able to do a lot of the thought work that we thought machines wouldn't be able to replace. Does this remove the value of human input? Yeah. If you don't make content, you're going to be homeless. Please start now. That was a joke. The answer is yes and no. There's areas it definitely does. In a lot of ways, it's far more efficient and accurate than humans, and it's actually a lot cheaper for employers if you think about it, because ChatGPT doesn't even charge. There obviously will be some sort of paid solution in future that's more specific for whatever job roles you're considering might be taken by it, but it will work out cheaper than actually hiring labor. However, what's funny is if you ask ChatGPT to write copy, it's not actually going to do better than someone that knows how to write copy, that knows your business. You can go back and forth with it quite a few times. You can say, hey, write this copy, this is the type of message I'm trying to send, and it will do it, but it doesn't have the nuances that a human has, and frankly, it's not as good. That's not the benefit of ChatGPT, which is interesting. We'll come back to that. If you want it to be at a point where you can actually use it and send it off, you normally have to adjust it multiple times. People that I see that are like, hey, I built a website and design with ChatGPT, have you seen them? They're not great. I'm not knocking it because let's say as a founder, you want to get a project off the ground. If you don't have any technical expertise, you've saved so much money and time either having to learn or hire people to do it, and it is incredibly useful. But from a developer's perspective, like they'll see a website and it's like, okay, it's cool, but that's not what my job is. In short, ChatGPT just does what it's told. Never does more, sometimes it does less. It removes the laborious work such as collecting, cataloging, analyzing, and implementing data. All of this information really kind of is accessible on Google. The benefit really of ChatGPT is the way that humans can communicate and the way it archives and delivers the information. The most apt comparison I can think of is the Industrial Revolution. Oh, if they're gonna take our jobs, which they kind of did, but they didn't manage themselves. They were fundamentally tools, although they did remove a lot of labor. The way I see these AI tools, it is like having an employee. If you want outsized returns for the input that you put in, it's purely down to you as a delegator to be able to do that. If you see where my point's coming to now. Let's say your job requires you to take variable inputs. It's not always the same. You have to use creative thinking. You have to communicate with various parties in different manners and ways. You've got to get a little bit gritty, change things around, and outputs are always a little bit confusing. It's not easy to micromanage. Like, your boss wouldn't be able to do your job better than you unless he had the industry experience. And if he doesn't have that kind of industry experience, like, would he be able to manage someone to do that job better than you? If he couldn't, he wouldn't really be able to use the AI to do this thing, right? Because the AI itself can't actually manage itself. Likely, you will be using AI to manage and automate the boring parts of what you're doing, or the simple stuff. I'm not saying things won't change. I don't think they cannot change, because it is actually a really big deal. When I first saw ChatGPT, I was actually a little bit pessimistic about it. At first, I was just having fun. I was like, haha, say something stupid and provoking it. But then I would see people make content on how to use ChatGPT to do code. And at first I just thought, this is kind of stupid, man. Like you're actually just making content. I felt like everyone was glorifying it. Reason being, I can't ask ChatGPT to do what I'm doing now. So at the moment I'm a contractor. There's like a legacy plugin from one payment provider. I'm having to update it and integrate into a current company's infrastructure, and then connect it to the payment gateway, make sure everything works out, and interact properly with the deployment pipeline. Might sound like a lot of jargon, but point being, like, I can't just ask ChatGPT, hey, check my repo, do all of these things. There's so many smaller steps in it that even I myself, I'm not going to understand until I investigate a little bit better. I didn't just tell a machine what to do and it does it. It's not that sophisticated. Since then, I've seen people using AI tools to generate code. I saw someone use it to create unit tests, which I think is super useful and functional. That's really smart. Transpiling code from one language to another. I think at some point there will be a way where it's like pair programming with a tool like that. You have it on your laptop, you're doing your work, blah, 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 and it'll come with prompts. It's like, have you considered this? And there's a bunch of options of how to do it. It's like, this could use unit testing. You press a button, bang, like unit tests on everything to make it more stable, and it will tell you about security risks. I think working in unison with but I don't think it will remove the decision-making process. So is learning to code too late? Certainly not. In the same way with the Industrial Revolution, machines came over and they took a lot of labor jobs. A new kind of work opened up where it was the management of the machines and the workflow as the system. If you're familiar with Toyota, they've become very prolific for how they revolutionized the workflow of their factories. There's plenty of books on it, there's a lot of studies. And that's how I kind of see this changing. So although, yes, tools are coming to remove the laborious parts without having to manually, when building cars, like construct the iron and smelt it, machines are doing it. It's no small feat to get all these machines working in alignment, especially on bigger projects. There's entire fields of thoughts and job sectors that are literally related to optimizing and implementing these tools in the correct order. Things where there's not a definitive answer, it's going to be very difficult for machines to do and implement. I'm not saying that it can't be done in the future, but we're certainly not, anywhere close to that yet. So my advice for the upcoming AI revolution is you have to start thinking more like a boss. It's not necessarily what you can do. It's being able to understand the decisions that you're making. Anytime you're doing your work, could you accurately explain what you're doing to someone else? The learning is still super important, but it's also the communication and understanding the delegation. Subconsciously, we learn and we adapt and do. If I was telling someone how to do this, to what accuracy could I tell them? Because it's stuff like that and building systems that's really going to separate the difference between how much AI can or can't disrupt what you're doing. How many businesses have employees and the business goes bust because the employer doesn't actually know how to accurately utilize them to focus on priorities and get the money or whatever it is that they need to do? That's kind of the value of delegation. So in conclusion, I don't think it's a waste of getting into code, but I do think the importance of learning maybe like the minutiae of specific languages and being able to write like great code is probably going to get superseded by the understanding how to build systems, what order things need to go in, the building blocks. That's the kind of stuff that you really need to focus on. If anything, coding is actually one of the best things you can use to understand processes and systems, especially in the digital age, because machines communicate in a different way that humans do. So understanding how that interaction actually occurs, very beneficial. So yeah, scary times for sure, but then hey, guess what? We also had a European war and COVID. And then, maybe we might have another world war, and then our kids are also going to have to deal with climate change and maybe the world exploding. So, I think things are getting crazy. The best thing I think you can do is just stay curious, enjoy learning, and see what happens. This is just my experience and my personal opinion, but hopefully it's helpful to someone out there. If people are thinking that coding jobs are going away, I don't think they are, but I do think they will fundamentally change. No one really understands what's happening. People will say they do, we don't. In hindsight 2020, the best thing you can do is just put yourself in what you think is the best situation moving forward. I personally think that is understanding how to utilize delegation a little bit better. Thanks, guys.